Welcome to the Kit Carson Co-op Community Connection with Luis Reyes, our CEO. Hi, I'm Debbie Friday Jaggers, and we're just here to catch up on all things at the co-op that affect our community. How are you doing today?
Good, Debbie. How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you. I'm so excited we could get together and talk about this. You guys have a lot going on.
We do have a lot going on.
Why don't you tell us your big priorities right now?
Well, I think our big priorities have been centered around making sure Kit Carson and its members get as much renewable energy. Our choice has been solar, so in 2022 we became 100% daytime solar, and now we're looking at the storage side of the equation, make sure we can take that solar into the nighttime. Our main project today is really the green hydrogen project in Cuesta.
Which is really one of a kind, right?
It is one of a kind. It's probably one of the last hydrogen facilities standing. With the changing administrations in D.C., they've eliminated a lot of renewable energy projects. So far, we've been able to maneuver through the politics of the world to get this done. What I've been telling people is co-op has morphed into more a quality of life type of entity than we sell electricity, we sell broadband. We actually sell the conveniences of having electricity.
You've always brought up interesting points about things that we take for granted. When there's an outage is when we all realize, oops, what all does this energy do for me? Pacemaker monitoring and medical devices and internet for people that, are working remotely. There's so many levels to that quality of life.
Well, yeah, I think now when I started years ago, electricity was not a luxury, but not everyone had it. There were still places like at the Pueblo and in some remote areas. And today you can't do without it. Energy drives the way we live, drives the quality of life, brings us the amenities that we have here in rural northern Mexico, same as broadband. Post-COVID, broadband has been able to connect us to the world. It's been able to give us educational opportunities. It's been able to give us more medical opportunities. You don't have to go to the doctor now. You can do a Zoom. Continue to morph, and just think about it. Here in Amalia, New Mexico, where we started, you have gig service. You have faster service in Amalia, New Mexico than you do in Denver, Colorado. And so that's changing our quality of life, our ability to live in a great area, raise our kids, good, solid, kind of rural family values, but also have the amenities that anyone anywhere in the country have.
Right, and it makes us more competitive for those families to stay and live in Taos and bring their families here and raise their families here.
And that's the goals of this hydrogen is really, in 2014 when Chevron closed, we lost 300 employees, 300 families, plus everyone who is associated with that operation in Cuesta, whether it's restaurants, stores that supported these families.
Car dealers.
Yeah, it really did impact our community.
It impacted everyone.
And so we've been working since about 2018 to say what solution can we bring locally to make sure that this doesn't happen again, or at least we're insulated,
right?
That if we do have a downturn in the economy that we will survive, and that locals won't have to leave, which means our kids leave and really don't come back. And so we're losing that extended family. We're losing that culture of family.
Right.
And so this really started out as an economic development project. How do we put people to work building solar, building hydrogen, building the power station that's going to deliver this to our members? The other main issue we're facing is wildfires. How do you keep the lights on while you're fighting the fire?
Well, and then the afterward with the insurance premiums and everything else. And if you can minimize that damage and those effects because of your mitigation and your prevention, that you've got all these projects going on.
Exactly. Think about anyone who's listening. How high have your home insurances gone up, the premiums? So if you have someone that's just kind of your kid starting life, they want to get the first house or first trailer or whatever their first home is going to be. If you can't get insurance, you can't get a loan.
Right, exactly.
Right. So what do? They end up going to Albuquerque and Phoenix and other cities and leave us at the time where we need young people in the community to be our next generation of leaders.
Absolutely.
Right? And so I think it's important what the co-op's doing because this will create jobs, turns a brownfield into a greenfield. Think about this. 10 years ago, this was a Superfund site. It killed everything. Within a couple of years, you'll have a facility there. And as it gets cleaned and we grow, maybe we make it an industrial site where we can have other small businesses that complement the area.
Exactly.
We're not going to build massive data centers and stuff like that, but we can bring in buildings that complement outdoor recreation. I see a lot of people, and kind of in your field, maybe opening Cuesta makes it more accessible so people can buy property.
Right.
Locals can buy property, build their home here, stay here, make it home instead of people from the outside, so to speak, coming in and buying big pieces of property and taking it out of the inventory for our locals.
They have that appreciation for the land. and the water, because it was grandpa's. It was great-grandpa's. They remember their childhood memories when they were out there with grandpa on the tractor or whatever. To your point, it does lend to that multi-generational enrichment that makes northern New Mexico truly so special.
Right.
I mean, we have a cultural edge. We got that one. We just need to preserve it and let it grow.
And how do we do that?
And nourish it, exactly.
And I think we do that with local solutions, and we do that with local businesses, local customers, local residents, collaborating, cooperating, communicating.
Exactly.
We're not always going to agree on everything, but we should at least learn how to agree to disagree and find a solution. And doing nothing, in my opinion, is not the solution anymore.
No, I agree.
Right.
And about this project specifically in Cuesta, I want to touch a little bit on how $1 is going to grow into something else, and how many lives are going to get touched. Even if you're not the person that's getting employed by this project, your quality of life is going to go up.
Yeah, some of the benefits. So you got the benefits certainly from an environmental. It's clean energy. Hydrogen's clean. It's going to run through a fuel cell, so there's no greenhouse gas emission. So the blue skies we enjoy today are just going to be just as blue,
just as clear
tomorrow and 10 years from now.
That's great.
So that's the first thing. You take brownfield to greenfield. The Village of Cuesta is going to own the solar, and they're going to sell us the power. We have to buy the power from somebody, so why don't we buy it from ourselves, so to speak?
Exactly.
So then the Village of Cuesta can turn this around and do what they need for the community, whether it's enhanced fire protection, law enforcement, activities for the youth. But now they have some disposable income that they really can make quality of life decisions to make it better for the people who live in Cuesta and the surrounding communities and who visit.
Right. All that money just comes right back through and channels back again.
You get a more vibrant, more protected, safer community with this project. I mean, it's $231 million injected. There's not been a project in Taos County this big ever.
Big numbers.
So big numbers, and the benefits it brings to the village, first responders, to the public in general, additional gross receipts so that at least the governing bodies now have more to invest in the community, whether that's roads or whatever they invest in. When you really look at it, not a lot of downsides. It's not property we're going to put a Little League field on. We're doing some research. The state in Taos County, I think, we've embraced recreational marijuana, pot. People are kind of divided on that, but it's here.
It took a big hit on the real estate market.
It took a big hit, but when we talk about water, I mean, 8 acres of a pot field is about the amount of water the hydrogen facility is going to use annually. So imagine that. If we take 8 acres out of the inventory and says, we're not going to grow this 8 acres of marijuana this year, you have enough of the hydrogen. Car washes use more than the hydrogen, right? And we always have this affinity. You go around town with the car wash at your house, you're washing your car. Even if it's a drought, we're washing our car. So I do think water is always important, and we're very mindful and respectful how we use it. But I think it's the best use of water because it does give us this other value propositions of jobs and clean air and clean water, renewable energy around the clock. This will be a 50-hour battery. So just imagine we can power Cuesta North to Red River to TP for 50 hours if there wasn't, we had to shut off the lines because of a fire.
Right. Or if you needed to shut off the lines there because you had to provide for someplace else on the grid.
Exactly.
It helps everybody. Now, speaking of water, because again, it's our water is sacred here, there's been a little press about dirty water, bad water. Let's just get that out of the way.
I think from a co-op perspective, we should put all water on the table to see if it works. Right, and then science will get that. The optimum use would probably be wastewater from the wastewater treatment facility.
Which will also not impact, the aquifers and the water in Cuesta, which, of course, local folks of Cuesta are, concerned about, rightly.
Right. Yeah, we're trying to do that. Fresh water obviously is option 2. So we're trying to use all the available water resources, but we also have to work with our partners. In this case, Chevron owns a lot of the water rights in that area, and so they've been very cooperative on working on a solution. And so there'll probably be a short-term solution and a long-term solution because the other reality is we need energy. It's not today. It's going to be in 10 years. It's going to be in 20 years. In fact, I think our society is going to be more and more dependent on energy. Like I was saying, you have with broadband now, you have a laptop, iPad, cell phone. All it requires electricity, the smartwatch, the smart TVs.
Oh, gosh, it's everywhere.
And so we're trying to enhance quality of life, address things that are happening at the national level that we had no control, right?
Right.
There has been an attack on climate change. We can't do anything in D.C., but we certainly can here locally, which reduces our carbon footprint.
Yeah, responsibly.
And responsibly and affordably. Affordability is, I think, the one single biggest issue impacting our community, whether it's groceries or buying a vehicle or
real estate, taxes, everything.
Sending your kids to school. And so how do we do it? So our little piece is, how do we make electric rates stable? How do we put people to work so they have a paycheck? How do we bring in more grocery receipts so the village has enough to keep their employees working but still offer the services?
Right.
$1 gets turned over 7 times. If you introduce 200 million, what's the impact that we can really foster?
Right.
And it also complements outdoor recreation, right? Because it's solar, it's hydrogen, it's clean, there's no emissions from it. So it really complements what today is probably our biggest industry, which is outdoor recreation. Hiking and biking, fishing, hunting, skiing. So it does increase our opportunities we have for locals, our quality of life, hopefully brings our young people back who have left, keep our young people from leaving. Wow. And still embracing what our culture has always done is we embrace all neighbors of all likes to be part of our community.
Well, you can't discriminate when it comes to energy.
Exactly.
We're all in it together and we need each other. Well, this is an amazing conversation, and it's the first of many. So excited to be a part of this with you because this impacts everything that I do now professionally and also just being a community member. 5th generation New Mexico, I got a little skin in the game. You all touch so many facets of our lives, and I think it's really important that we keep this connection going so that people can feel more a part of all these wonderful solutions that you're involved with.
Yeah, I do encourage people to reach out to us, to
Absolutely.
talk to us. I think the only thing that I'm starting to, and maybe it's just as we get older, I think people need to be kinder, more open. We can have spirited discussions, but we need to be respectful. And I see too much in our community today that we've lost that. That is part of the magic of Taos in the Enchanted Circle is we were always kind to everyone who either our friends, families, or people who came in to visit.
Right.
And I don't want us to lose that. And I think leaders in our community have to start saying that more.
I completely agree with you.
I want to talk to anyone who wants to talk. I think we just have to learn how to be good people. We're
good
better,
listeners.
Yeah, we're better than what we've acted in the past.
I think you're right. There's always room for improvement,
Right.
but it's the desire to improve.
Right.
And that's where we're going to make the difference.
Exactly.
Thank you, Luis. This has really been fun. I'm looking forward to next month.
Well, thank you, Deb. It's great to see you.
Please join us for the Kit Carson Co-op Community Connection.